much fun for you to stop in one day out of the blue and just introduce yourself as Don Rettberg.
Yes.
R-E-T-T-B-E-R-G.
Right.
And out of the clear blue sky, Don says, you know, I saddled Jackson's horse. And of course, Don says, no big deal, you know, not even worth talking about. But you did something none of us here did. And set it up the scene. Where did you live, Don?
I lived in Jamestown.
And whereabouts in Jamestown?
On 6th Street.
Okay. And how does a guy on 6th Street find himself on a farm out on Fairmount Avenue?
Well, a buddy of mine had a horse, and I went up with him, and I saw where he had the horse boarding at the barn and stable up there. Mm-hmm. And me, I was just a horse nut. I had to be around horses all the time.
By the way, Dan, when were you born?
September the 7th, 1923.
Okay.
Buffalo, New York.
So your friend is he an older friend?
Yes.
And so you kind of chum around, and he's got a horse, and he says, Don, come on, I want to bring you up to the stable.
That's right, and that's how it all got started.
And
so how young a kid were you at this time?
18.
18, okay.
Describe the stable.
It was a beautiful, yellow barn. It had, on the back side of it, it had Chautauqua Lake Stock Farm. And there was horses on this side and horses on that side, and then there was horses on like an L shaped this way. And there was horses there.
How many horses would there be?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I wouldn't. I never even counted them as many times as I've been up
But
there.
there was a goodly number?
Yes.
Don suggested maybe 30 or so. Would that be kind of a rough?
That would be kind of accurate, yes.
Okay. Any particular type of horse, or was it set up so that if I owned a horse and I needed to board it someplace, I would rent a stall and kind of contract there?
Yes.
Did they have horses available for the public to ride?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I could go up there and watch?
Oh, yeah. On a Sunday afternoon, there'd be all kinds of people up there riding, especially coming down from Chautauqua there, the young girls and boys, they come down and rent a horse for an hour or two around the track, or some of them even went up on the Welch Road way out back.
Well, talked about that. There was the corral, where you could ride the track.
Yeah, that was a half-a-mile track.
Okay. And where was that located with regards to the barn? Was it in the back of the barn, or?
Well, the barn was here, the track was up here.
How did you access the barn? Or did you go from Fairmount Avenue onto the barn, or did you come off of, is it the Winch Road? Not Winch, no.
Well, the barn was way before the Winch Road.
Okay. So you actually drove in from Fairmount Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. Was it set back quite a bit, or was it close to the road?
I'd say it's a good 20 feet, 25 feet from the road.
Okay. So there's this huge, sizable yellow barn that's right there off of Fairmount Avenue.
That's right.
And attached to it is the fenced-in corral for the riders and also the trainers. Was there a trainer there full-time?
No.
Who ran the barn?
Pelly Neal.
Who was he?
He was an African-American boy, or a man, I should say. He was a wonderful person. He had a wonderful, dynamic personality. You met him, and he was like you've known him all of his life. It's that rare.
Mm-hmm. How older guy?
Oh, yeah.
Younger guy?
Oh, he was an older pal.
I mean, you're 18. How old is he at the time?
Oh, gosh, I think he's in his 60s or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe later.
Had he been there a long time?
Oh, yes.
So when you thought of the Chautauqua stock farm, you thought of Pelly Neal. I mean, he was there that long?
Yes, he was there until it closed.
Do you know when it closed?
44.
44?
I was overseas.
Do you know why it closed?
That I can't tell you.
Yeah.
Did he live out there?
Oh yeah, he lived there too.
Okay.
He had his office, and then off the office he had his bedroom.
Was there a staff?
No.
No. What was your role there?
I just came up, I rode my bike up all the way from my house up there, and just to be around the horses and talk with Pelly, and I got to know a lot of people up there.
Right. And at some point, your paths, or at least crossed with Jackson or Jackson's horse?
I'll never forget the first time I met Bob.
Sure.
And I saw his picture, so I knew who he was. And one time I turned around and Bob was standing almost behind me. Mm-hmm. And I just said, Bob. I never referred to him as Mr. Jackson. To me, he was just Bob, and that was it. And he never said anything different, so.
He was already in Washington, and he was in the government, or he was still living in Jamestown?
Oh no, he was, when I first met him, he was Attorney General.
Okay.
And then, all of a sudden, there's a big headline in the picture of Bob Jackson. He was Supreme Court Justice appointed by President Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you know that you could feel comfortable turning around, seeing the Attorney General of the United States, and you're 20-some years younger than him, and you call him Bob?
Well, I don't know. I can't give you that honest statement today, but I just turned around and said, hi, Bob, because I saw his picture in the paper. And I'll never forget the first time I shook hands with him. That was the last time I did. Being that kind of a man in office, I just give him a fishtail handshake. That was the biggest mistake I ever made, because when he come down on that, it was like a vice grip. And I went right up on my tiptoes. Boy, I was glad when he let loose. This next time I saw him, I went right straight in. Bob, it's good to see you. I never made that mistake again. But boy, I'm telling you, he clamped down there like a vice grip. I went right up on my tiptoes.
You're a tall man. How tall are you?
5'10".
5'10". Okay. Was he your height? Shorter?
I'd say give an inch one way or the other.
Okay.
But he had this dynamic personality.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of a person, you met him, like you met him all your life. He was just a wonderful person to be around.
Uh-huh. Now, did he know of your family or know anything about you, or you were just a kid a guy he's meeting at the horse ring?
I was just a kid that was at the horse barn. That's it.
Did he know that you were working his horses at all, or preparing his horses?
There was a bench out on the front end of the barn there, and I used to sit out there and, just watch the traffic going by, and all of a sudden the phone would ring, and Pelly would come out and yell, Don, Bob's up in the way, get Renee ready for him. So I'd run to the box stall and get her out, saddle her and bridle her, and I no more had the bridle on her, and here comes Bob driving up in the car. So I'd leave her out to the entrance of the barn, and he'd be out, and he'd mount her, and the way they'd go for 2 or 3 hours, way out back.
Did he tend to ride by himself, or would he have...
No, he rode, as far as I know, I never saw him ride with anybody.
Okay.
Is it Rainey?
Renee,
And what kind of horse was that?
she was a beautiful saddle-bred horse. She was like a buckskin.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful horse. I just loved to be around her, because I used to open up the box door and walk in and just put my arm around her and pet her and talk to her. I guess that's what happened when you're a horse nut.
Do you know where Rainey came from, who raised her, or anything like that?
As far as I know, a man by the name of Hines.
Mm-hmm.
I think boy, this is flipping way back now. I think he was the one that broke her in, and that was it. Mm-hmm. But Hines Mike Hines there, he was a young boy. That was his grandfather. And Mike was a good horseman. He was a young boy, but he was an excellent horseman rider too.
Don, who was just here before you, he said he had a friend named Mike Hine.
Yeah.
That's the same guy?
Yes.
H-I-N-E.
Yeah.
Okay, so he broke in Reaney.
Yeah.
Or was it his father that broke in?
No, the grandfather.
The grandfather broke in, so
Yeah.
Mike Hines' grandfather.
Okay.
How long were you up at this? How long time frame did you play at the stables?
Well, it started before we even got into the war. And then I went in the service in 43.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there, and I never saw home again until 45.
Okay. Any habits of Jackson as a writer? Did you find that, was it English or Western?
English.
English. Did he have his own suit and stuff? So when he got out of the car, was he?
Oh no, he was just like I am.
Okay.
You'd never know he was a Supreme Court justice.
And he didn't wear an English
No.
riding outfit at all?
No, never anything like that.
Okay.
It was just a pair of pants and a shirt, and that was it.
Okay. Before I forget, what kind of car did he drive?
He had a government car.
Okay.
His chauffeur was also named Jackson. He was an African American.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a government car.
Okay. And then again, as I was thinking about the corral and Jackson riding off, did they have trails that worked its way up to?
Oh, there was a lane up to the track.
Okay. And then did he go out into the woods itself? Did he have a separate?
He would go up the Wrench Road
Okay.
and go way up back there. It was all roads there, and there was no cars up there or nothing. This was during the war.
Right.
So you just had the whole roads and
What's the name of that road?
Winch.
Winch Road.
W-I-N-C-H. Were there trails back up in those woods there, or would he just go on the roads?
Just on the roads.
Okay.
Paved? Unpaved?
No, they were all unpaved. That way up back there, they were all dirt roads.
Right.
And was this summertime riding or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
During the winter, did you go out to the farm itself? Did you go out there all year?
I'd take the bus during the winter time. Of course, in them days, you could ride the bus for a nickel or for a dime.
Right.
That was way back.
And these were normally weekends, Don?
Yeah, Sunday or Mondays.
Okay. Were you working also?
No, I was still in school.
Still school. Jamestown High School.
No, I went to Lincoln. I never went to Jamestown High School.
Okay.
I was overseas during the war. In fact, I was in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And they graduated in 44, and I was over in the Philippines. So I never graduated with the class.
Maybe get it off track here, but were you at the Philippines when MacArthur came back?
There was a sign going into Manila. I don't know to this day who put it up or wrote it on it. But it said, I had a picture of it. I wish to high heaven I had kept it. It would have been a collector's item today. Mm-hmm. Who wrote this on the sign? I can't tell you who it was, but it said, by the grace of God and a few Marines, MacArthur returned to the Philippines. Boy, I wish I'd have kept that picture. It'd have been a classic today.
Oh, absolutely. But you never saw MacArthur?
No.
Okay.
Only in newsreels.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you literally come back to the service, the stock farm is gone.
Yes.
Was it just vacant land? Was there anything there, any structures there?
They tore the barn down, and then they put Perkins Pancake's house up there.
And they'd torn the barn down by the time you got back from the Pacific?
No, the thing was still there. I went up there, and man, I'll tell you, I had the worst lump in my stomach because knowing what it was there and all the horses, and it was just an empty barn.
Okay. What became of Pelly?
He went back to Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's where he originally from anyways.
And how do you spell Pelly's name?
P-E-L-L-Y, I think. It's been so long since I...
And Neil? How do you spell Neil? And
N-E-A-L, I guess. I guess that's close enough.
Do you know how he got here?
That I don't know.
Yeah. So during the war, the horses are dispersed. The farm is sort of abandoned. Do you know, John, when Bob Jackson sold his interest to Elmer and...
I haven't, but off the top of my head, I don't know. I think 40... around Supreme Court time, 41, 42. I think. I mean, he kept riding, but he was no longer an owner.
Did you ever see his children up horseback riding?
The only one I never saw Mary.
Mm-hmm.
But she had a jumper and his name was Happy.
Mm-hmm.
His wife had a beautiful, I saw Mrs. Jackson, and she had a beautiful saddle horse too called Charlie. I remember I helped her mount Charlie a couple times there. She was an awful wonderful woman.
Describe her. I'm not sure we've had anybody describe her.
Gosh, I can't really, I only saw her twice in as long as I've been up there. But I remember I'd help her.
Right.
But she was I remember she was an awful nice lady. She had a wonderful smile. I remember that.
Yeah. Did she also ride English? Everybody rode
Yes.
English?
Mary sold her horse to Emerson, and for his granddaughter, and he had the Emerson glass factory or something down there in Faulkner too.
Okay. Whatever happened to Jackson's horse?
He took Rainey to Washington,
Okay.
and that was the last I seen of her.
Okay. How old would have Rainey been when you were there, you know?
Gosh, I don't know, 3 or 4.
Young.
Yeah, she was a young,
Do you know how that horse came to be named?
that I don't know.
Because his wife's nickname and his horse's name were the same, Renee.
That I never knew.
And I don't know if it's a family joke or which came first.
But I
She
remember.
was Irene.
Yeah. So, well, maybe we ought to have a seance and find out.
Why did we talk about that last night? You're done. You're really good.
Yep. Did you ever see him back in these parts in the years after the horse farm was gone?
No.
He'd come back,
No, he sold the house.
He sold the house.
Boy, what a beautiful mansion that was.
Right.
Every time I go by it, I can always visual Bob sitting on the front porch.
You would see him when you ride the bus past or your bicycle past, you'd sometimes
No.
see him on the front porch?
No, when I drove it, it was during wartime and he was in Washington.
So it's just your mental,
Yeah,
okay, it is a beautiful house. And who did he sell it to?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I know in fact, I know one thing personally, that when Roosevelt spoke at Chautauqua that time,
Uh-huh.
he stayed at that home.
Okay.
Did he sell? Does the name Gifford mean anything?
No.
I think that's who he sold it to.
Yeah, he'd come back in those post-war years, but he'd stay with friends, he'd go fishing, he'd visit his sister lived down in Frewsburg. He didn't have a place in Jamestown, obviously, to...
No, I guess not, because in fact, I never even knew he had a boat,
Okay,
because I spent all my time up the riding stable with the horses.
right.
But I never did know that he had had a yacht or that I never did know.
We've learned a lot today. You've been very insightful, Don. Is there anything we should be asking you that we missed?
I think we covered all the bases that I can think of.
Yep.
This is great. Don, what's your address? I want to make sure.
808 North Main Street.
808 North Main Street. And your phone number?
Gee, I forget to call myself up. Let's see, 487-6473.
Okay. And your full name is Donald or Don?
Well, I go by Donna. I'd rather go by that.
Okay. And Greg already spelled it. Rettberg.
Right.
Okay. This is great.
Well,
Do you remember when you were out in the Pacific, especially, after the Japanese surrender, knowing that Jackson was over in Nuremberg doing this prosecuting of the Nazis?
actually, I didn't know about it until they started to have the trials. That's when I first realized that Bob Jackson was the chief prosecutor or something. Because I remember seeing him there, giving that speech there.
Right. On the newsreels?
Yes.
Right.
Well, them days we had newsreel, we didn't have television.
Right. Now, you were a young soldier. Were you writing letters home from the Philippines to your folks or a girlfriend or something?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't in the Army, though. I was in the Marine
You were in
Corps.
the Marine Corps, okay. Do you still have those letters?
No, I don't even know where in the heck they are.
Okay.
Wait a minute, I do have one that Dad sent me. I discovered later on in years when I was looking through a lot of stuff there.
Any stuff that might mention Jackson?
No.
Either way?
Dad never even knew Jackson. He was a railroad engineer.
Right. But he would know a guy from Jamestown was off prosecuting the Nazis.
Oh, I probably would through the news, reading in the newspaper,
Right.
but that was all.
Right. Okay.
But like I say, he was an engineer on the Erie Railroad, and that took up all of his time.
Right. This is great.
Don, you win an award.
I can't
Groomsman of the Year.
believe this.